I sat in the cozy corner of the cafe, steam rising from the cup of tea my son Steve had just made for me. He smiled as he handed it over, saying it was his special blend to warm me up on that chilly afternoon in June. The cafe was busy, people chatting around us, but I felt good seeing Steve after our rough patch. I took a sip, the liquid hot and slightly bitter on my tongue. At first, it seemed fine, but then my body seized up. My chest tightened like a vice, my vision blurred, spots dancing before my eyes. The cup slipped from my hand, crashing to the floor. I gasped, clutching the table, my legs giving way. I collapsed onto the cold tile, the world spinning. Through the haze, I saw a stranger rush forward, Thomas, though I didn't know his name yet. He knelt beside me, checking my pulse, his face urgent. "Hang on," he said. An ambulance wailed in the distance. But as my sight faded, I caught Steve standing back, his face not worried, but smirking at the untouched cup in his own hand. Why was he smiling like that? If you're watching this, subscribe, like and let me know where you're watching from. Thomas stayed by my side as the paramedics loaded me into the ambulance. My throat burned like fire, my heart racing wildly. "What happened?" one medic asked. Thomas leaned in close to me, his voice a low whisper so only I could hear. "I saw your son switch the cups when you weren't looking. That tea was meant for you." My mind reeled. Steve? Poison? It couldn't be. But the pain was real, twisting through me like a knife. The ambulance sped through the streets, sirens blaring. At the hospital, doctors rushed me into the ER, hooking me up to machines. They pumped my stomach, ran tests. Hours blurred into a fog of beeps and needles. Thomas waited outside, pacing. When I finally stabilized, he came in. "You almost didn't make it," he said. The doctors confirmed it later, traces of a deadly toxin in my system, something slow-acting but lethal. Enough to stop a heart like mine. Thomas pulled out his phone, showing a quick photo he'd snapped unnoticed, Steve's hand hovering over my cup, a small vial in his palm. "Your son just tried to kill you," Thomas hissed, as the sirens faded in my memory. But why? What had I done to deserve this from my own flesh and blood? I woke up in the hospital bed 2 days later, my throat raw and my body weak. The room was sterile, white walls and beeping monitors. A nurse checked my IV, saying I was lucky to be alive. The toxin was rare, something from plants, hard to detect without quick action. Thomas visited, bringing coffee, but Steve? Not a call, not a visit. My heart sank deeper than the poison ever could. "He's avoiding you," Thomas said, pulling up a chair. He showed me another photo from his phone, a clearer shot of Steve slipping powder into my tea at the cafe. I was at the next table. Saw the whole thing. My hands trembled as I held the phone. Steve, my only son, the boy I'd raised alone after his mother died. We'd argued lately about money, but this? Why would my own son want me dead? I whispered, tears stinging my eyes. Thomas leaned forward. "I don't know yet, but we need to find out. Before he tries again." The door creaked open, a doctor with my chart. But as he left, I spotted a note on my nightstand, slipped under the water glass: "You should have died today." My blood ran cold. Who left that? And how close was the killer now? Discharged after 3 days, I went home feeling like a ghost in my own life. The house was quiet, too quiet without Steve's occasional visits. I sat at the kitchen table, memories flooding back like poison in my veins. Missing money from my accounts, small amounts at first, then bigger. Arguments with Steve about loans he never repaid. "It's just temporary, Dad," he'd say, eyes avoiding mine. I'd given in every time, thinking it was love. But now, betrayal sliced deeper than any knife. Thomas came over that evening, insisting we dig deeper. "This wasn't random," he said. We checked my bank statements, more unauthorized transfers to Steve's name. My chest ached, not from the toxin, but from the truth. He'd been draining me for months. "He needs you gone for the inheritance," Thomas guessed. I buried my face in my hands, the weight crushing me. How had I missed the signs? That night, as I tried to sleep, a noise jolted me awake, a shadow at the window. I froze. On my nightstand rested a hospital note I'd brought home: "You should have died today. But now," scrawled below in fresh ink, "next time, you will." My heart pounded. This wasn't over, it was just beginning. Thomas became my unlikely ally, meeting me at a diner the next day. "I know Steve from the underground gambling scene," he confessed over coffee. "He owes killers a fortune, debts from bad bets." My stomach twisted. Steve, gambling? It explained the missing money, the desperate pleas. Thomas showed me texts he'd intercepted anonymously, Steve promising thugs my life insurance payout. "If he doesn't deliver your inheritance soon," Thomas warned, "they'll finish the job." I stared at the messages, horror building. Steve had poisoned me for cash. To pay off goons? We needed proof. That afternoon, I confronted a mutual friend who confirmed Steve's gambling addiction. "He's in deep, David. Over $200,000. My world spun. The son I'd sacrificed everything for, widower's pension, late wife's savings, had turned on me like a snake. Thomas urged caution. We build a case quietly. But as we left the diner, a black car idled across the street, tinted windows hiding watchful eyes. My phone buzzed, an unknown number: "Pay up, or your dad's next sip is his last." I showed Thomas, my hands shaking. "They're coming for me now." His face hardened. "If he doesn't get that money soon, they'll handle it themselves." Fear gripped me. How far would this go? Back home, paranoia set in. Every creak was a footstep, every shadow a threat. I double-locked the doors, but sleep evaded me. The next morning, I went to my safe for my late wife's will, my estate plan leaving everything to Steve. But the safe was pried open, papers scattered. The will was gone. My heart raced. Who? Thomas arrived, examining the damage. "This was Steve, look." On the floor lay Steve's lighter, engraved with his initials. Proof he'd been here. "He's forging it," Thomas said. We called the police, but they dismissed it as a break-in, no fingerprints. Frustrated, I dug through old boxes, finding bank records showing more thefts, $50,000 gone in the last year. Steve had been planning this. Thomas suggested we tail him. That evening, we followed Steve to a seedy bar. He met shady figures, handing over cash, my cash. "He's buying time," Thomas whispered. As we left, a thug spotted us, eyes narrowing. Back in my car, the phone rang. "Steve. Dad, you okay?" His voice dripped false concern. I hung up, rage building. But then, a note slipped under my door: "Hand over the estate, or next time no one's saving you." Terror hit. This was escalating fast. Desperate for answers, I visited my neighbor, Mrs. Ellis, who'd seen Steve lurking around. Over tea, she leaned in. "I saw him with Caldwell, that rich manipulator from downtown." My blood chilled. Caldwell, wealthy investor, known for shady deals. They were arguing about money, she added. "Whatever Steve promised him, it won't end well, for either of you." I thanked her, mind racing. Caldwell pulling strings? Thomas researched him, a millionaire with a history of exploiting desperate people, loans with deadly interest. "Steve's in bed with him," Thomas said. We staked out Caldwell's mansion that night. Steve arrived, tense. Through binoculars, we saw them shake hands, Steve handing over papers. My stolen will? "He's signing over your estate," Thomas whispered. As they laughed inside, a guard patrolled outside. We slipped away, but my phone buzzed, a photo from unknown, me at the cafe, sipping the poisoned tea. Caption: "Next one's fatal." Panic surged. This wasn't just Steve anymore, Caldwell was involved, a man with power to crush lives. Thomas gripped the wheel. "We need more proof." But as we drove, headlights tailed us, closing in. "They're following," I gasped. The chase began, our car swerving through dark streets. How deep did this conspiracy go? The next day, I drove to the store, but on the highway, my brakes failed. The pedals sank uselessly as I sped toward traffic. I yanked the emergency brake, swerving onto the shoulder just in time. Heart pounding, I called Thomas. "Sabotage," he confirmed after checking the lines, "cut clean." Someone had tampered with my car overnight. "Steve," I whispered, shaking. "We reported it, but police found no evidence." That evening, alone, fear gripped me. A knock startled me, a delivery. Inside the box, a bottle of my favorite scotch, no sender. I poured a glass, but hesitated. Thomas rushed over, testing it with a kit he'd bought. "Poisoned," he said grimly. My blood ran cold. They'd tried again. On my windshield that morning, I'd found a note in Steve's handwriting: "Stop resisting." Defiance rose. "We fight back," I told Thomas. But doubt gnawed, could I really destroy my son? He was blood, the boy I'd raised through grief. Thomas urged patience. "Gather more." As night fell, my phone rang. "Steve, casual." "Dad, need to borrow the car tomorrow?" I hung up, rage boiling. This wasn't ending quietly. It was building to something deadly. Thomas pushed me to act. "We can't wait for the next attempt." I stared at old photos of Steve as a kid, smiling innocently. "Can I really destroy my own son?" I whispered, torn between love and survival. Thomas shared his story. He'd lost family to similar betrayal. "You expose him, or you die." We hacked Steve's old emails, finding pleas to Caldwell for loans, promises of my inheritance. "He's desperate," Thomas said. But doubt lingered. Steve was my only family. That night, I dreamed of my late wife, warning me. Waking in sweat, resolve hardened. "Let's build the case," I told Thomas. We installed hidden cameras at home. Days passed tense. Steve called, sounding worried. "Dad, you okay?" "Heard about the breaks." His fake concern fueled my anger. Thomas found Steve's gambling records, debts over $300,000 now. "He's sinking." We planned to confront him soon. But as I locked up that night, glass shattered downstairs. Intruders? I grabbed a bat, heart racing. Footsteps echoed. "Who's there?" I yelled. A shadow fled, but on the floor lay a vial, like the poison. And a note: "Last warning." Terror hit. This was no game, death was closing in. Thomas dug deeper into Caldwell, uncovering his criminal ties, extortion, even suspected murders. "Steve's a pawn," he said. We spied on Steve at Caldwell's mansion that night. Hiding in bushes, we watched through a window. Steve paced, Caldwell lounging with a cigar. "Forge the signature," Caldwell ordered. Steve nodded, pulling out my stolen will. "Once Dad's gone, it's all yours." My blood boiled, planning my murder like business. Caldwell laughed. "If he survives another week, I'll handle it myself." We slipped away, hearts pounding. Back home, Thomas played a recording he'd snuck, Steve admitting the debts, the poison plot. Caldwell promised to erase it all if I deliver. Proof at last. But doubt hit, expose them and ruin Steve forever? He was still my son. Thomas urged, this ends it. As we plotted, my phone buzzed, a video from unknown, me sipping the poison tea, collapsing. Caption, next time, no stranger saves you. Fear surged. Caldwell knew about Thomas. The stakes skyrocketed. We take them down, I decided. But as sirens wailed distantly, I wondered, could I pull the trigger on my own blood? The evidence weighed on me like lead. Steve's voice on tape, admitting everything, how could I ignore it? I crumbled in my chair, torn. He's my son, I told Thomas. How do I end him? Thomas paced. He ended you first, with poison. Memories flooded. Steve's childhood laughter, now poisoned by greed. Desperation clawed at me. That night, alone, the phone buzzed, a text from Steve, sign the papers or die. My hands shook. He wanted my estate now, no waiting for murder. Thomas arrived, seeing my state. We can't let him win. But doubt gnawed, love versus survival. What if I forgive? I whispered. Thomas shook his head. He'll kill you. Resolve flickered. We planned to expose them at Caldwell's upcoming gala. Go public, Thomas said. End it there. I stared at Steve's photo, heartbreaking. This would destroy him forever. But as another threat arrived, a rock through my window with "last chance" carved, I knew I had no choice. Okay, I said. We go. Thomas nodded. It's time. But fear lingered, could I face my son as his destroyer? Thomas rigged a tiny recorder in Steve's jacket during a fake bump-in at a store. We'll catch him admitting more, he said. Days later, we retrieved it, success. Steve's voice, I poisoned Dad for the money. Caldwell gets half. Chilling proof. But as we celebrated in an alley, headlights blinded us. Caldwell's men surrounded us, guns drawn. Hand it over, one growled. Panic hit. Thomas fought, knocking one down. I grabbed the recorder, running. Bullets whizzed past. We dove behind dumpsters, hearts pounding. They know. I gasped. Thomas nodded grimly. Steve tipped them. Sirens wailed, cops? No, more thugs. We sprinted to Thomas's car, peeling away. In the rear view, they pursued. Lose them. I yelled. Thomas swerved through traffic, finally shaking them in a maze of backstreets. Safe at my house, we listened again. Perfect evidence, Thomas said. But the close call shook me. They're desperate. As we planned next steps, the door rattled, someone testing the lock. We froze. A note slid under, give us the tape, or die tonight. Terror gripped us. This was war now. With the recorder safe, we turned to my wife's original will. But at the lawyer's office, shock hit, the will had been altered. Steve had filed a fraudulent version weeks ago, naming himself sole heir. How? I demanded. The lawyer shifted uncomfortably. He had your signature, forged, maybe. My blood boiled. Even the lawyer seemed hesitant, glancing nervously. I shouldn't say this, but you don't have much time left. What did he mean? Outside, Thomas fumed. Caldwell bought him off. We confronted the lawyer later, recording secretly. He admitted Caldwell's bribe. Steve promised me a cut. More proof. But doubt crept in, Steve forging my death for greed? I stared at old family photos, heart aching. He's lost. Thomas urged action. Expose them. As we left, my car tire exploded, another sabotage. We barely escaped. Home, I found my safe emptied again, personal documents gone. Steve covering tracks. A call came, Steve, casual. Dad, sign the new will? It's for your protection. Lies. I hung up, rage building. But the lawyer's words echoed, time was running out. Caldwell's reach was everywhere. Caldwell showed up at my door unannounced, his luxury car idling outside. Tall, imposing, with a smirk that screamed power. "David, let's talk." He pushed inside, demanding I sign over my estate. "Steve owes me, big. Your death speeds it up." My skin crawled. "Get out." He laughed coldly. "Your wife thought she could beat me too." My world stopped. "What do you mean?" Caldwell leaned close, breath hot. "She found out about my loans to Steve. Accidents happen." Horror hit. Was he behind her car crash, death 5 years ago? "You monster," I whispered. He shrugged. "Sign, or join her." He left, but his threat lingered. "Your wife thought she could beat me too." Thomas arrived, furious. "We need her accident report." We dug through old files, suspicious details, tampered brakes, like my car. "Caldwell's doing?" Proof mounted. But fear gripped me, Caldwell wouldn't stop. That night, shadows moved outside. I barricaded doors. A call from unknown, "Sleep tight, won't be long." I clutched the recorder. This wasn't just Steve anymore, Caldwell was the puppet master, pulling deadly strings. Digging deeper, I found my wife's hidden journal in the attic. Entries detailed her suspicions. Caldwell's loans to Steve are traps. If I vanish, Steve will be next. My heart shattered. She knew, tried to warn. Last entry, confronted Caldwell, he threatened me. Proof she'd confronted him days before her accident. Tears fell as I read. Thomas scanned it. "This ties Caldwell to murder." We photographed every page. But doubt hit. Expose this, and Steve's life crumbles too. "He's complicit," Thomas said. As we planned, Steve called, pleading. "Dad, sign the papers, Caldwell's pressuring me." Lies to manipulate. I hung up. That night, paranoia peaked, a creak downstairs. Intruder? I crept down, bat ready. No one, but on the table, a photo of my wife's crashed car, circled in red. Note, history repeats. Caldwell taunting. Thomas urged, "We go public." But fear whispered, could I survive long enough? The journal's final words haunted, "Protect yourself, David, Steve's lost to him." Resolve hardened. Caldwell had killed my wife, now targeting me. This ended now. Thomas opened up that night, his past spilling like shadows from a cracked door. I once worked for Caldwell, lost everything. He'd been a low-level enforcer, collecting debts, until Caldwell framed him for a scam, ruining his life. "He destroys families," Thomas said bitterly. I followed Steve to expose Caldwell, then saw the poison. His eyes darkened. "If we fail, he won't stop at just you." Motivated, we strengthened our case. Hidden cameras caught Steve searching my house again. On tape, Caldwell needs that journal. Proof of conspiracy. But Caldwell escalated, a package arrived, my wife's necklace, stolen from her grave. Note, "She died easy, you won't." Rage boiled. "We end this," I vowed. Thomas nodded. "The gala tomorrow, expose them there." Doubt flickered, facing my son publicly. But Caldwell's reach was deadly. As we prepped, gunmen ambushed us outside. We fought back, escaping narrowly. "They're scared," Thomas gasped. Hiding in a motel, we reviewed evidence. "This ruins them." But Thomas's warning echoed, failure meant death for us both. The stakes were life or oblivion. Adrenaline pumping, we barely escaped the gunmen. At the motel, bruises forming, I demanded answers. How did they find us? Thomas checked his phone, tracked. Caldwell's prose. We ditched it, planning our next move. The gala loomed, Caldwell's annual black tie event. We crash it, Thomas said. Play the recording publicly. Terror gripped me, expose Steve before elites. But no choice. Next day, disguised, we tailed Steve. He met Caldwell in a warehouse. Overheard, Dad's onto us, finish him. Caldwell nodded. Tonight. My blood froze. We followed Steve home, he packed a bag, glancing nervously. As night fell, attackers struck my house. Thomas fought one off, I bashed another with a lamp. We fled, hearts racing. They're closing in, I gasped. Hiding in Thomas's car, we sped away. But a tail appeared, black SUV ramming us. Swerving wildly, we lost them in traffic. The galas are shot, Thomas urged. Exhausted, I agreed. But as sirens approached, doubt hit, could I betray my son to save myself? The dropped phone from a thug lit up, last call, Steve. Betrayal sealed it. This ended tonight. Bruised but alive, we went to the police with evidence. But the officer smirked, tearing our report. Caldwell owns this town. He was bought. You're on your own, he sneered, shoving us out. Rage surged, Caldwell's corruption ran deep. Thomas fumed. We expose him ourselves. The gala started that evening. We snuck in, blending with caterers. Elites mingled, champagne flowing. Caldwell toasted, Steve at his side, smirking. My heart twisted, my son, a traitor. Thomas wired the recorder to speakers. As Caldwell boasted, I nodded, Thomas hit play. Steve's voice boomed, I poisoned Dad for the money. Gasps erupted. Caldwell's face paled. Chaos, goo. Ests whispered, phones out. Steve bolted, but security grabbed him. Caldwell yelled, fake. But the crowd turned. Police arrived, real ones, tipped anonymously by Thomas. Arrest them, a guest shouted. Caldwell snarled at Steve, you idiot. As cuffs clicked, Steve's eyes met mine, fear, regret. But it was too late. Justice had begun. The police betrayal hit hard. We left the station fuming, evidence dismissed. Caldwell's pocket cop, Thomas spat. No help there. The gala pulsed with lights, elites arriving in limos. We donned stolen uniforms, slipping in as staff. Caldwell schmoozed, Steve beside him, toasting success. My stomach churned, traitors celebrating. Thomas rigged the audio system. As Caldwell spoke, boasting empire, Thomas whispered, now. I hit play. Steve's confession echoed, poisoned Dad for Caldwell's cut. Shock rippled, glasses dropped, murmurs grew. Caldwell's smile shattered. Lies, he roared. Guests filmed, chaos spreading. Steve paled, fleeing toward exits. Security blocked him. Arrest these men, a dignitary yelled. Real police swarmed, our anonymous tip worked. Caldwell lunged at Steve, you fool. Cuffs snapped. Steve's eyes found mine, pleading. But betrayal burned too deep. Justice roared. The gala's fallout was swift. Police hauled Steve and Caldwell away amid flashing cameras. Guests buzzed, scandals igniting. Thomas and I slipped out, hearts pounding. It's done, he said. But doubt gnawed, had I gone too far? Steve was my son. Next day, headlines screamed, millionaire and son arrested in poison plot. I stared at Steve's mugshot, guilt twisting. Thomas urged, he chose this. Police called, I testified, playing the full recording. Caldwell's lawyers swarmed, but evidence mounted. Steve's gambling debts exposed, linking Caldwell's loans. I visited the station, facing Steve through glass. He glared. "You ruined me. You tried to kill me," I countered. He spat, "For the family." Lies. As I left, a detective warned, Caldwell's vowing revenge. Fear returned. Home, I fortified doors. But Thomas pushed, "Go public fully," at Caldwell's trial. Terror hit, testify openly? Expose everything? It's the only way to end it, Thomas said. I stared at my wife's journal, her warnings clear. Resolve hardened. Okay. But as threats arrived, anonymous calls promising death, doubt screamed, could I survive the spotlight? Trial loomed, tension thick. Thomas prepped me, stay calm. Caldwell's gala exposure had weakened him, but he fought dirty. I crashed his pre-trial hearing, slipping in back. Steve entered, cuffed, eyes hollow. Caldwell followed, sneering at reporters. As proceedings started, Steve spotted me, face twisting. His lawyer argued bail, but the judge denied. Steve approached during recess, arm in arm with his guard. "Dad," he hissed, "why?" I met his gaze. "You poisoned me." He leaned close, venom dripping, "Why won't you just die already?" My blood froze, pure hate. Guards pulled him away. Thomas, hidden nearby, recorded it. More proof. Caldwell glared from afar, mouthing threats. Outside, media swarmed. "Mr. Flores, comment?" I stayed silent, but inside, resolve burned. Steve's words sealed it, no redemption. Thomas nodded. The trial will bury them. But as we left, Caldwell's limo pulled up. He rolled down the window, smirking. "Enjoy your time left." Fear spiked. This was far from over. The public exposure plan intensified. Thomas insisted, confront at Caldwell's bail hearing. We arrived early, blending in. Steve entered first, shackled, face pale. Caldwell followed, confident despite charges. The judge reviewed evidence, my poisoning, the recording. Bail arguments heated. During break, Steve approached, guard close. "Dad," he whispered coldly, "this is your fault." I stared. "You tried to kill me." He leaned in, eyes blazing, "Why won't you just die already?" Shock hit, my own son wishing me dead. Thomas, nearby, captured it on video. Nail in the coffin. Caldwell watched, fury simmering. As court resumed, the judge denied bail. Outside, reporters mobbed. Caldwell snarled at me, "You'll pay." But Steve's words echoed, hardening me. No mercy left. The trial exploded into headlines. Caldwell and Steve faced charges, attempted murder, fraud, conspiracy. I testified first, voice steady, playing the recordings. Gasps filled the court as Steve's confession echoed. Caldwell's face twisted in rage. Steve slumped, avoiding my eyes. Defense attacked my credibility, biased father. But evidence mounted, journal, debts, witness statements. Cross-examination brutal, but I held firm. Thomas testified next, exposing Caldwell's criminal empire. Chaos erupted, defense objected wildly. Then the bombshell, the recording from the hearing played. Steve's voice, "Why won't you just die?" The jury shifted, whispers rising. Caldwell lunged forward, restrained by guards. "Lies," he roared. But the judge hammered for order. Steve broke, tears streaming. His lawyer whispered furiously. As recess hit, Caldwell's glare shifted from me, to Steve. Betrayal brewed. "You fool," he mouthed. Steve paled, realizing his ally turned enemy. The tide shifted, justice closing in. The sudden reveal hit like thunder. As the recording ended, silence gripped the courtroom. Then murmurs swelled. Caldwell's composure cracked. He stood, pointing at Steve. "This is your fault." Guards restrained him. Steve's face drained of color, begging his lawyer, "Fix this." The judge banged the gavel. "Order." But the damage was done. Jury eyes hardened. Outside, media frenzy. Poison plot exposed. I slipped away, heart pounding. Thomas's plan worked, the public turned. Caldwell's outburst sealed their fate. The jury deliberated briefly, guilty verdicts slamming down. Steve collapsed, sobbing. Caldwell raged, vowing appeals. As guards cuffed them, Steve's eyes met mine, desperate. "Dad, please, save me," he whispered, voice breaking. My heart twisted. Once, I'd have rushed in. But betrayal burned too deep. "You made your choice," I said coldly. Caldwell sneered, "You'll regret this." Guards dragged them away. Thomas clapped my shoulder. "It's over." But doubt lingered, Steve's plea echoed. Weeks later, in prison visiting room, Steve faced me through glass. "Why'd you do it?" I asked. He wept. "Debts." Caldwell promised freedom. No remorse, just excuses. I stood. "Rot here." But his words haunted. Could I have saved him earlier? Thomas warned, "Don't second guess." As I left, a note from Caldwell arrived, "This isn't over." Fear returned. Justice won, but shadows lingered. Caldwell's fury boiled over as verdicts hit. He grabbed Steve's collar through the chaos. "You ruined everything." Steve paled, turning to me. "Dad, please, save me," he begged, tears flowing. The courtroom froze. I stared, memories flashing, his childhood, my sacrifices. But poison's bitterness won. "No," I said. Guards separated them. Steve's plea lingered, but resolve held. Sentencing came swift, life for Caldwell, 25 years for Steve. I watched stone-faced. Steve turned, eyes pleading. "Dad, forgive me." But I walked out. Thomas celebrated, justice served. Yet guilt nagged, had I pushed too hard? Days later, I visited Steve in prison. Through glass, he looked broken. "Dad," he whispered. I demanded truth. He confessed, "Caldwell forced me, debts or death. I chose you." Tears fell. "I'm sorry." Part of me softened, he was manipulated. But betrayal stung. "I'll keep you alive," I said coldly, "but justice will have you." I left, heart heavy. Thomas met me outside. "You did right." But Caldwell's threats loomed. Home, a package arrived, my wife's journal, returned. No, inside, a vial of poison. Note, "Your turn." Panic hit. Caldwell's reach extended from prison. We alerted police. "He's not done," Thomas said. Resolve hardened, I'd fight on. A father's choice weighed heavy. In the visiting room, Steve begged forgiveness. I shielded him from Caldwell's lingering threats, hiring protection. But no absolution. "Live with it," I said. Steve nodded, broken. Justice rolled on. Steve's trial wrapped, but Caldwell fought appeals. I testified again, exposing more, his role in my wife's death. Guilty. As he was led away, Steve yelled from his cell, "You'll regret this, Dad." Chills ran down my spine. But freedom breathed easier. Months passed. Thomas became a friend, helping rebuild my life. No more threats, Caldwell's empire crumbled, assets seized for victims. I sold the house, moved quietly. One day, a letter from Steve, I see now, greed destroyed us. No plea, just reflection. I didn't reply. Walking free, I felt closure. But his yell echoed, regret? No, justice won. The traitor's reckoning deepened. In prison, Steve confessed fully, Caldwell groomed me, promised riches if I eliminated you. He wept, admitting fear drove him. Forgive me, Dad. I didn't face it alone. As I left, peace settled, betrayal ended. Years later, Steve paroled early for good behavior. He visited, changed, humbled, working honestly. I was lost, he said. Caldwell twisted me. We talked hours, truths flowing. No full forgiveness, but understanding. This time, you'll write your own ending, I said, handing him tools for a fresh start. He nodded, tears falling. Thomas joined us, the stranger now family. Caldwell rotted in prison, empire dust. I found peace, scars fading. Life moved on, stronger, wiser. Revenge with heart came slow. Steve's letters from prison grew honest, greed blinded me. Caldwell preyed on it. He detailed regrets, begging a visit. I went. Through glass, he wept, I'm sorry, Dad. Fear made me a monster. Nuance hit, he was manipulated, but chose wrong. I forgave enough to guide. Build better, I said. He did, paroling to honest work. Our bond mended, fragile but real. Caldwell died behind bars, alone. Thomas and I toasted, justice served, hearts healed. Life's twists taught vigilance. Now, peace reigned. Thank you for joining me on this journey. If you like this story, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share your impressions of this story in the comments. To listen to the next story, click on the playlist now.